Shalom. All praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Double honor to the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, who still rule and teach well. Yahweh is the true, holy, and powerful name of whom the world ignorantly called God. Yahweh Shai is the true, holy, and powerful name of whom the world ignorantly and incorrectly called Jesus Christ. That's in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew tongue. Bahashem is in the name. Rakha Kodash, Rakha being spirit, Kodash being holy, which is the Holy Spirit that gives me the inspiration to bring out this lesson. And I hope and pray that it's edifying. Now, what you see on the screen is an Edomite who was married to this Gadite woman. His name was Ernest Burkhart. Her name was Molly Kyle, or Molly Burkhart, after she was married to him. And this is the inspiration, the story of this tribe of Gad, the Osage people, which means, I believe, people of middle waters, the people of middle waters, Osage. But this is the story, the history, I should say, that inspired the movie Killers of the Flower Moon, which features Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone, produced by Martin Scorsese. You could watch this movie on Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, you could purchase it to watch it. It's a really good movie. And it was actually an order for brothers to watch it from the GMS Chicago, the brothers that's in the Midwest region, from the elder from GMS Chicago, Elder Malcolm. He said that every brother needs to watch this movie. I'm late watching it, so Salakia. But I did want to go into the history of it, show some images, some articles, and some history of it, and then obviously get some precepts to show why you should never trust Esau, okay? Because this movie is a good representation or illustration of why we call this man the devil, okay? Which the word devil means deceiver, okay? Because the Osage people were actually forced to relocate to Oklahoma. Now, what the Edomites didn't know about the area that they relocated them to was that this area had oil on its land. And so when the Osage tribe discovered, which is the tribe of Gad, when they discovered that oil on their land, obviously they became wealthy and they had rights to all of that wealth. So what the Edomites did was they strategically murdered off people from the tribe, and they married into the tribe to obtain the rights to the oil. And so this is a real picture of Ernest Burkhart and Molly Burkhart, who the movie, like I said, was pretty much loosely based off of. But the mastermind of it all was this man here, William King Hale. And he was played by Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, not Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro. And this guy was the mastermind behind it all. Now, when you watch the movie, this guy here and William Burkhart, they were actually Ish people. They were actually small hats. They didn't rock the small hats or anything like that. But there was a couple scenes where they identified as Jews, okay? And we know that they're not the original Jews, those small hats. But it's just interesting to me that they were from the tribe of Amalek of the nation of Edom. And now this person here was also involved in the murders. His name was Kelsey Morrison, 23-year-old convict, has admitted to killing Anna Brown, an Osage Indian woman. He did it, he says, at the instigation of William King Hale, Osage Cattle King. That's what they call him. Who is, and when you watch this movie, the character that was played by Robert De Niro, he was the most deceptive. He was the biggest devil because he talked a real good game. He like it says, they draw near me with their mouth, but their heart is far from me. Well, that's what it reminded me, and we know that's talking about the nation of Israel, but that's what it reminded me of in this movie. A better precept would be Psalms 55:21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. And that was this character, William King Hale, because he had the entire tribe believing that he was a loyal and, trustworthy individual to them, which the Bible tells you never to trust your enemy. And like I said, I'll read these precepts, but I want to go through some history first. The Bible tells you never trust your enemy because of individuals like William K. Hale and all the Edomites. It says he did it. He says, at the instigation of William King Hale, Osage Cattle King, who is under indictment as the ring leader, or as the leader of the ring that is alleged to have killed a dozen Indians. Morrison made this admission during the murder trial of Ernest Burkhart, Hale's nephew, at Pawhuska, Oklahoma. And this is the image of William King Hale, the mastermind of all of the conspiratorial murders. You could even call them assassination because, like I said, the Osage tribe became very wealthy because of the oil that was on their land, but this made them a target. Now, what precept should come to mind? This is Micah chapter 2, verse 2. It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his heritage. It's like it. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So they covet fields. You know, they desire to take your fields, and how do they do it? By violence. They don't do it by legislation or treaties. Although it may begin with legislations, they'll turn around and become violent even after treaties are made. Okay? Matter of fact, I'm going to go to Psalms 55. Because it says this, Psalms 55 and 20, he hath put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. And the Gadites were trying their best to be at peace with you devils. But you constantly pursued your brother Jacob. You know, you made covenants with them, you made treaties with them, and then you find out that they have oil, and you further persecute them. You one by one, you murder them off to try to get rights to the oil. It says he had put forth his hand against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. And this is in the 1920s. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. And like I said, when you watch this movie, you're going to see how smooth these Edomites' words are, and how gullible and silly the women of the tribe of Gad and the entire tribe of Gad really was back then. Okay, because they broke the number one rule, which is to never trust your enemy, man. Okay, they allowed this man to marry into their family and all of this madness, and we don't deal like that. We don't give our daughters unto these other nations. Okay, we'll take their women, but we don't give our daughters to their men. Why? Because that kills your lineage. It says the words of his mouth, which there's no lineage coming from the woman, but because what could happen is your inheritance that you have, because your daughter married a Edomite man, if there was an inheritance left to her, because that could happen if she had no brothers and no other surviving male family members. If she had an inheritance, it would be given to that heathen, or it could be taken by that heathen. And that's exactly the strategy that these Edomites, so-called white man, was using in that movie. In this history. It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So they wanted that land so bad that they were, one by one, like I said, picking off and murdering the people of this tribe. And this is a real image of the woman, his wife, that he married. And look at this devil, man. Why would you trust this face, man? I mean, come on. You know, but it had to happen. Now, this image here is when the Osage tribe went to Washington, D.C. to get help from the FBI because of the murders that were taking place. They realized they were being hunted. They were being strategically murdered. And this picture is the Osage tribe leaders with President Coolidge, U.S. President Coolidge. Now, I'm going to say this because U.S. President Coolidge didn't give a damn about the Osage people. These Edomites do not care about you. But during this time, it says President Calvin Coolidge is famously pictured with Osage leaders in 1925 to commemorate the signing of the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924, which granted full U.S. citizenship to all Native Americans. While the photo depicts an important historical event, Coolidge did not meet with the Osage regarding the killers of the Flower Moon murders. The real Osage delegation that traveled to Washington, D.C. for that purpose did not meet with him. So the president didn't actually, in the movie he did, but as far as history is concerned, the president didn't actually meet because of the murders. He met because of this Indian Citizenship Act that he signed in 1924. It says the Indian Citizenship Act signed by Coolidge on June 2nd, 1924. The act granted citizenship to all Native Americans born within the United States. The photograph with the Osage leaders was a public recognition of this landmark legislation, a symbol of recognition. Okay, so, and really, I perceive that they only did that because they thought that these people had something of value. Okay, as I said, they covet fields and they take them by violence and houses and they take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Okay, now it was prophecy that our people would not be able to overcome this devil. Okay. This is Genesis chapter 49, verse 19. It says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Let's go to the word troop, which the word Gad means troop. But when you go to this word Gad, Gadawad, which is the word troop. Gadawad means a marauding band, a raiding band. Now let's look up the word marauding. It says going about in search of things to steal or people to attack. And that's, predatory. And that's exactly what these Edomites, that's exactly how they were behaving in the movie. They were going around in searches of things to steal. They was robbing the different Osage people of their jewelry at nighttime with guns, holding them at gunpoint, robbing them for their jewelry. And then they were going around trying to marry into the family or murder them off to steal their land. It says the definition of marauding, going about in search of things to steal or people to attack. Another definition, predatory. And these are the people, the Edomites, which is really going into the North American cavalry that overcame the Native Americans, that overcame the tribe of Gad. But even in the movie and in this history, this prophecy was being fulfilled. It says Genesis 49:19, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last, because that the tribe of Gad, the North American Indians, are Israelites, and they're going to overcome in the end over this devil. They're going to get the victory. They're going to get the salvation of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. So this is another picture of the tribe with President Coolidge in 1924. And notice they used the Osage people as a representation of all of the tribe of Gad, because again, the Osage people had that wealth. It wasn't about they had such respect for our people and the Native Americans, but they did have a certain infamy or affinity for this tribe because of what they had. And that's all it was about, man. The scriptures say this, Proverbs. Because if that was the case, why didn't they use the Shawnee tribe? Or why didn't they take a picture with the Cherokee tribe or the Blackfoot tribe or the Seminole tribe? Seminoles wouldn't meet with them. The Seminoles, they hated the white man. They didn't bend nor break. And a lot of what the Osage people, how they were cordial with Esau was through threats. Okay? Best believe that they didn't want to die. So they said, well, we might as well try to live with these people. But they quickly found out that you will never be able to coexist with Esau, Edom in peace. There is no peace, said the Lord, to the wicked. This is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse, let me see. It's Proverbs 11, verse 21. Proverbs 11, verse 21. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. So it says evil people will surely be punished in the NLT, but the children of the godly will go free. So that's what it's going to be in the end of this world. Okay, 12,000 of the tribe of Gad, the elect of the tribe of Gad, are going to be delivered from America. No matter how many hands they shake with Edomites, Esau, you're not going to be saved. And we know that you had ulterior motives with the people of the tribe of Gad. And so that's pretty much it on the images that I had. And so let me get a couple more precepts. Sirach 12:10. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Just like iron will eventually rust, and you will eventually see that, it's iron. Okay, there's nothing that you can do to stop iron from rusting. You can do things to try to prolong it from rusting, but eventually it will rust. So is the wickedness of the so-called white man. He can do things to try to suppress his wickedness. He can do things to try to suppress the evil that is in him, but eventually it will show. As it says in verse 11, though he humble himself, and he was humbling himself in this during this time period, okay, to actually pretend like he was in love with these Gadite women. He humbled himself greatly. Oh baby this, and love, honey this, and I love you this, and beautiful this, and and they was even talking about the white man. Yeah, the white man, and yeah, he said the white man is always trying to oppress us, and this and that, and the white man's rules and his laws, and the whole time he's using the white man's laws to oppress them too. He was no different. And this is what you get when you're sleeping with the enemy. Matter of fact, I had looked up that term, sleeping with the enemy. And it says sleeping with the enemy means being in a close relationship or alliance with a person or group considered to be harmful or an adversary. And this happened time and time again with the Israelite woman, man. Okay, from Eve. The story of Pocahontas, as it was fabricated, but that would be another. It could be another example. And then you have this example here with the Osage women and how they were just so gullible and so naive to think that these men really wanted to have a relationship with them. That there was no ulterior motives. And yeah, you had instances where, their gut in the movie, where their gut was telling them, you don't love me, this is about money, this and that, but yet and still, they still went along with their emotions in the end and was sleeping with the enemy. It says it can have both literal and metaphorical meaning, such as a romantic relationship between two people on opposing sides of a conflict, or a professional collaboration with a rival company. The phrase implies betrayal of trust and a risky association with someone who could potentially cause you harm. And that's what was taking place. And so it goes to say here in Sirach 12:11, I'm going to start at 10 again. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as though thou shalt, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. And that's what they was doing. Once he overthrew them, he stood up and took the rights of their land and the rights to the oil and became wealthy. That was it. That's what it was all about. To take their spot, trick them out their spot. Set him not by thee. And that's what happened when Esau first came over here. Cristobal Colon, the conquistadors, you had the conquistadors and Cristobal Colon, and these various different Spanish, French, and the British that came over here. And what did the tribe of Gad do? They gave them credence to a decree. They trusted them. They allowed them to come in, and they sold them smallpox blankets. They committed genocide against them because of that initial trust. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand. And that's what it was happening in the movie. William King Hill was at the right hand of the tribe, man. He was like one of the main men speaking when the tribes had council meetings. He was there giving a strong opinion, and they respected his opinion. He was like they right hand man. Whole time he was the one that was actually orchestrating all of the murders. And it was all about strategically taking away the rights of the land. Going back again to Micah 2:2. Set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. And so it says, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent? Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? So you can't feel bad, or you can't be surprised or feel bad for our people that trust this devil. I mean, it makes you angry. When you watch this movie, you're going to be angered because of how wicked and how much of a devil Esau is. And we know he's not going to get away with it. This is why there's a recompense coming for his ass. But again, you should have never trusted him. He was a murderer from the beginning and a bold not in the truth. So it's an excellent movie. As the elder already said, it says William King Hale. Yes, William King Hale, often referred to simply as Bill Hale or William Hale, was a real person. He was born December 24th, 1874 and died August 15th, 1962. And both William Hale and Ernest Burkhart were sentenced to life in prison, and neither one of them served life. They both were let out, and they both died free men, if I'm not mistaken, which shows you how corrupt the justice system was and still is. Okay, and they didn't really respect the serial killings, because that's what they were, the serial killings of the tribe of Gad. It says he was a cattleman in the Osage County, Oklahoma, who became hugely influential in the 1920s and was the mastermind behind the series of murders of members of the Osage Nation to get their oil-rich head rights. He acquired significant power in Osage County through cattle, ranching, banking, and business. Banking, right? He was a small hat. And business dealings and manipulation of the local system. Once oil was discovered beneath Osage land, the Osage received royalties, aka head rights. Hale started scheming to gain control of these head rights by marrying into Osage families and arranging murders. He was arrested. That's some Edomite shit, man. Even when you read the history of the Greeks and the Romans, that's what they were doing. They were marrying into families and murdering people and doing all this. Daniel the 11th chapter, you know, it speaks about the king of the north and the king of the south, and how they were just murdering each other and marrying each other and doing all this madness to try to obtain power. He was arrested in early January 1926 along with his nephew, later convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. He was paroled in 1947. Ernest George Burkhart. He was born September 11th, 1892, and died December 1st, 1986. He was the nephew of William King Hale. He played a central role in the conspiracy of murders against the Osage to appropriate their oil head rights. He married an Osage woman, Molly Kyle, full-blood Osage, in 1917. This alliance was part of the scheme. Once an Osage person died with head rights, the inheritance would go to surviving relatives, or in some cases, their non-Osage spouse. He confessed to participating in the murders of various Osage individuals, including via bombing of a house. He was sentenced to life in prison in 1926. He was paroled in 1937, just 11 years later. Later imprisoned again for burglary, paroled again, eventually pardoned by Oklahoma governor in 1965 or 66 for his role in the murders. Like, come on. This is the justice that America gives you. That's why the Heavenly Father's going to give us justice by enslaving you Edomites, man. It says both William King Hale and Ernest Burkhart were real historical figures. They were central actors in the so-called Reign of Terror in Osage County, Oklahoma, during the 1920s, where wealthy Osage head rights, oil royalties, made them targets of schemes and murders. Their story has been dramatized in the book Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann and its film adaptation. Lord, when this is edifying, Call Loy Mala, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Kodash. Shalom.